Welcome back to another episode of English Conversations with Jake. Today I'm in London and I'm going to be asking people around London what they think of the energy crisis or the cost of living crisis. Again, part 2. Let's get to it. What's your opinion on the whole cost of living crisis?
Well, it's a struggle for everyone, really. It seems that it's only if you're lower working class person, then you've really got no chance. It seems that at the moment, the economics are only benefiting the people that are at the top end of the wages.
Yeah, it's not very good at the moment, is it? So yeah, we're all struggling, all finding it hard, all trying to get that extra bit of overtime just to cover the bills, and yeah, very hard at the moment.
Inflation's been happening since the beginning of Caesar, since currency, fam. So I mean, it is what it is, isn't it? It's just a case of have you aligned yourself to compensate for that inflation. You know, I mean, a lot of people are just working, but they're not actually. They're actually consuming because you're working for your time versus actually making your time work for you. So if you was aware of these kind of crises and you know that they keep coming in circular motion, it's kind of up to you to put yourself in a position for it not to affect you as much. So,
Cost of living crisis, what are your thoughts?
Lot is happening around, and within UK you can hear a lot of noises around, and a lot of people are struggling. Me myself have come from India. It's been 10 months, quite a struggle here. If you compare your expenses with Indian expenses, it's quite a lot here.
So cost of living crisis, how is it affecting you?
Well, I'm very fortunate that I've got a wife who's got a very good job, and I do a reasonable job myself, so I'm kind of insulated from it, but equally I'm extremely aware of it, and I do feel tremendously guilty every time if we go out and have something to eat in a restaurant. I feel bad about it, it's always on my mind. I'm always thinking of others who are less fortunate, which is why we donate to charities, and I teach my daughter to be aware of how lucky she is and how fortunate she is, so it's not something that passes me by.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I've been here for about a year now, and I mean, when my first impressions were that things were really expensive, but there was no way I could have foreseen that almost a year later things would be more expensive as they are now. And like you said, it really just affects how much you can save, and you know, you have to, I think, every month just like tighten your budget, and you think, okay, just how worse can it get? And yeah, it's not good.
So the cost of living crisis, what's your opinion of it? Or is it affecting you?
Well, it's affecting me in the way where salaries aren't matching the cost of living crisis, inflation, things like that. So, yes.
I've got friends that work in London that are on good money, sort of 50, 60, 70k a year, and they're struggling.
They're struggling?
They're struggling with rent and mortgages and just all the other things that come along, you know. So yeah, it's tough, but hopefully, you know, you've got to be hopeful, and there'll be some good news at the other end of it.
So you're getting overtime, did you say?
Yeah, when we can get it. Yeah, not getting a lot, but we're having to ask for it and do our bit. Yeah. Sure. But the wife's doing overtime. Everyone's doing overtime to just try and make ends meet. So.
And so overtime, for people that might not know what that is.
Yeah, it's just doing extra hours, trying to get your extra hours in, and yeah, if it's there, try and do it. But weekend work, anything. Yeah. So yeah.
You're just talking about the rent. It's nowhere near to what we used to pay back in India. Yeah. So certainly, and considering the cost of living crisis now with the groceries pricing, it's just not helping us. But at the same time, we are managing well. Quite happy here, and London is not going to disappoint you in any way. So
no.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you work in London? Is that why it's so difficult?
I work in finance around the corner.
Okay.
And yeah, the company salaries doesn't match necessarily what's industry normal, what's been happening lately in the UK. So yes.
And to be honest, I'm quite political as well, so I do, if I'm going to be honest, I do feel a tremendous sort of anger and fury towards this current government.
Yeah.
I think this past decade now is completely revealing itself to be just a complete decade of waste and incompetence, and I don't see how anyone can argue against that now.
How would you make your money work for you then? How does that work?
you've got to sell something. That's the only two worlds that we live in. It's either you're buying or you're selling. Whether it's the old crappy stuff that's in your attic, or whatever it may be. You need to find something. If you're not selling, you're buying.
Yep.
That's just literally it.
Sure thing. So 50, 60, 70k. That they call that kind of that situation golden shackles, right?
Okay, yeah. I haven't heard that expression before.
Yeah, but it sounds like, you know, they're locked in.
Yeah.
All these things, and that kind of salary doesn't help.
No, I mean, if you're, I mean, on paper, you think if someone's earning, I don't know what that equates to, take home a month, maybe 4k a month, 4.5k a month, you would assume these people are quite comfortable, but it isn't necessarily the case. And it is really just the higher top echelons that don't seem to be affected by it all.
It's affecting you then at the minute.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Got 4 of us at home. Got the 2 kids, so they're both trying to get into uni at the moment, university.
Yeah.
And it's hard. Like, trying to provide for them and what have you. Obviously, the boy works, the girls working. They're only 16 and 20, but they're both like working hard and giving us what they can.
Yeah.
But it's hard times at the moment.
Is it affecting you then personally, this cost of living crisis?
Not really, no.
Look, you shouldn't feel bad about that.
No, I don't. That's why I'm saying what I'm saying, because it's not really affecting me in the sense of I was prepared from once I saw Brexit coming. Like, I'm like, oh, okay, I know what that means.
Yep.
You know, we're trying to count our pennies. We're trying to cut some corners. I'm like, all right, if they're broke, that means I'm broke. Even though I might not have, even though I may have money in my pocket and I can, you know, pay my way. At the same time, the country that I'm living on is complaining about finances, so that means I need to make sure my finances are extra well to cover for whatever they got going on, which we've seen.
That surprises me, because I always thought finance, they got paid really well.
Well, that's what they like to portray. So when they say competitive salary, they mean competitive against other companies.
Oh, fine.
So it's a way of getting you into the cycle. So it really depends on your company and how you sell yourself.
Okay, sure.
And I do feel like normally I'm sort of centre left in my politics, but I do now feel that we do need quite a lurch really to the left. I think there does have to be a complete redistribution of wealth, and it's so glaringly obvious that the rich are getting richer, poor are getting poorer. So yeah.
Is it affecting you, like, in any way at all?
Yeah, I mean it is, because we both are not from the UK, and we've been here for about a year, and I think when you make big decisions such as deciding to relocate to a whole different country, you take finances into account and you think, okay, I should be able to spend around X amount and be able to save around X amount. And I think once you're here and you realize that you're not able to do that, it kind of it affects a lot of things, and you start to think whether or not you made a good decision. But
yeah, you got to manage your outgoings as well.
Exactly.
I guess.
I always say to my kids that it's not about what you bring in, it's what you don't spend, right?
Yeah.
So someone who, this is the saying that I always say, someone who earns, say, £5 a month, but spends £5 a month is worse off than someone who earns £2,000 a month, but only spends £1,000 a month, you know?
Yeah. Go back to your guilt. I'm not sure you need to feel guilty. I mean, you're putting money back into the economy.
Yes, exactly. I know, exactly. We do, and we're very awake. We're very aware. We realise. Every time, like for example, I will give money to beggars. I give money to charities, and
even eating out though, you're putting money into a business, a local
exactly.
business, right?
I've watched a Snickers bar go from 40p to £1, bruv. Yeah.
Should we not even mention Freddo's?
Oh, bro, don't. That's even more painful.
It is. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, it's hard work. It's depressing. Like, it's not getting any easier. Luckily, I use a van for work, so I don't have to pay. Company pay for that, but that's one good perk about it.
Sure, yeah.
Because parking up here is terrible. I don't know if you. Yeah.
I know. I took the
Yeah, I know. You put a couple of hours on, it's like £25 just for a couple of hours parking, so it's ridiculous.
I guess the business
and fuel as well. So.
Yeah. Is it slightly different here than in other countries, perhaps?
Well, it's much better than in Spain.
Okay.
But I wouldn't know necessarily.
You wouldn't know?
No.
I guess because you don't live there.
Exactly. I've only worked in the UK.
Okay, that makes sense.
So it's about managing your liabilities and your assets and all those sort of things. It's just, I suppose the one thing I would say about everything that's been going on recently, maybe it's made more people more conscious of what they spend. Mm-hmm. So people aren't getting their Starbucks 5 times a week, or their Pret or whatever. So maybe that's not necessarily a bad thing if it's made people a little bit more conscious.
The city in and of itself has been really nice to live in. Been exposed to quite a lot. Been enjoying it, and yeah,
Nice.
it is what it is.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, but it does, for me, if I'm going to be honest, it does trouble me, and I do feel really awakened in the last 5, 6, 7 years. Like I think, like a lot of sensible, balanced people in this country, people that have integrity and morality, can clearly see that something is going catastrophically wrong in this country now. It's not being managed properly. It's not being governed properly. We can blatantly see that, and I'm getting into a bit of a political rant here now, but I don't, and these are my strong views. I don't, even if you're someone who pretends to be a Conservative voter, I don't see how anyone now can dispute that we need an absolute new government, a new regime now.
Anything else to add?
Go check out my website, bro, tdnb.co.uk, man. That's pretty much what I do, man. I'm an independent, bro, so you need help working, getting through this this crisis, bro, give me a shout on my website, man. I might be able to have an opportunity for you guys.
TDMB?
TD, for November, B, which stands for to dream and believe.co.uk, so just type in tdnb.co.uk. You can find me, man. I might be able to help you with your living crisis.
Yeah, nice one.
Cool, bro.
You can see it, like the National Health Services on its knees, social care, hospitals struggling, schools that need money, transport system doesn't work outside of London. It's just a mess, and then the whole issue of Brexit, which is completely obviously turning into a disaster now. From Bank of England, Chamber of Commerce, Financial Times, everybody's saying what a mess it is. And I defy anybody to. This country's in a much worse state than it was now from the since the Conservatives coalition and this Conservative government came into power.
I know people that are sort of started getting a little bit more into investing because they know the bank interest rates aren't great, so they're trying to look at other ways to make their money work for them.
Sure.
So it's negative, yes, but you've got to try and take the positives out of it.
Absolutely. Do you have anything else to add about it? Your opinion about this whole crisis?
Read the news, vote.
Yeah.
And stay up to date with current affairs and get involved in politics, especially the young people.
Makes sense. Does the salary, does that meet all your needs then?
It does, but at the same time, if you factor your savings, so it's quite difficult to save money here, and it does make sense sometimes to consider the monetary factor here, which is quite a good amount, but at the same time, considering the expenses, it's like we are at the break-even now.
Yeah, but a lot of jobs I do, a lot of companies are shutting down and closing. And
what is it that you do?
I do plants, but they're all struggling as well. So all their heating bills, electric bills, and so a lot of them are working from home still. If they can do that, then they're not coming into London.
Yeah, people being let go left, right, and centre.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a lot of redundancies going, and it's hard times. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate your help.
Yeah, no problem, mate.
Any more thoughts at all, or is that it for you?
No, not really. He well covered it, but at the same time, we back in home, we never used to think about spending for groceries, etc. But we will have to think about what are we spending on groceries, and so quite a different experience. But yeah, managing well.
Sure, good to hear, guys. Thank you very much. Is it affecting you at all?
I'm quite lucky in as far as. Apart from, I'm sort of quite a modest person anyway. So apart from the gas and electric, which is a bit of a stinger, I've sort of managed to be able to adapt to it. Yeah. Obviously, there's less disposable income in my pocket, but that's the same as anyone. But for the most part, touch wood. I don't want to knock it.
Touch wood. Your head's not in it.
Yeah. I've managed to get through the other side of it. Fingers crossed.
Perfect. Well, that's enough for me, unless you've got anything else.
No, that's it.
Great stuff.